Hello, welcome back to the channel. While I was doing the fun new starter build Purifier, dual wield ranged, I did have quite a few comments asking me to do a melee build. Now, I don't know, I mean, if you've picked up from watching a lot of the stuff I do, I'm probably more into guns and weird stuff than melee. But what I've done here, this is an old school Blade Master, Soldier and Nightblade. It's currently at level 30. What I'm going to do is, in this video, quickly whiz through everything I did. It's not going to be like a full minute by minute walkthrough like the Purifier one. I want to get as much as possible into this quick video. I say quick, so it's probably going to end up close to an hour, but hopefully not. Yeah, what you've got here is a non-frustrating way to do a dual-wield melee. When I started playing Grim Dawn, I thought, oh yeah, I'll do dual-wield melee, it'll be great. And you get into about level, I don't know, 15 to 20, and you're just dying all the time. You're not doing enough damage, you're not healing, all sorts of stuff. But what I've got here, this guy, I'm doing it in normal because, you know, after the recent Hardcore Ultimate run, I don't need the stress of playing in hardcore or in veteran mode. Veteran mode would just be slower in with this. Right. So what I'll do quickly, I'll quickly show you what I've got, and then we'll rewind back to the start of the game and I'll show you how I got there. Now, a lot of the problems you'll have with a Blade Master is healing, is staying alive. So what I've done with this build, I'm using Fighting Spirit to keep myself alive. You're going to think, how the heck are you doing that? Well, I'll show you. If you look at that, if you get that maxed out and the gear that is easy to get, trust me, the gear is easy to get, you can add on another whole bunch of points to this. Activates when taking damage, 45% chance of activating. What that means is if you run into a big fight and a whole bunch of things hit you, it's pretty much it's going to activate. Then it has got an 8-second duration. During that time, you're doing plus 250% to all damage, and you've got a massively buffed offensive ability. You will also be healing 16% of your attack damage converted to health, thanks to these guys. Grundleplith's Tail. Let's look at that. That's got a minus 3-second skill recharge to Fighting Spirit, as does that. It's the same thing. I mean, you farm this. I'll show you in the video. It's easy to farm. And it puts 8% of attack damage converted to health to Fighting Spirit. So while Fighting Spirit's up, that thing is giving you an 8% chance, 8% of attack damage converted to health, and as is that. That is a bog standard value that is always there on this monster infrequent item. So you're laughing, okay? Trust me. I mean, look at the, yes, yeah, I haven't messed around with this at all. The first time I've checked this, actually, I don't know how long I've played. 4 hours, all right, yeah, see, it's not the quickest thing to level. Korvan Titanovore, total death 0. So he hasn't died. She hasn't died, whoever. Yeah, let's go. She hasn't died, and we're doing all right. Damage type, physical damage, little bit of pierce, bit of bleed. Everything else is kind of not a lot. What have we got here? Vitality. Yeah, there's a little bit of vitality damage. I'll sort that out. Don't really need to be doing vitality damage, but it doesn't matter for now. Other monster and frequent items that help this build. That's great. 36% of elemental damage converted to physical. So everything you've got buffing physical, you get any of the cold damage that the Nightblade's doing gets converted to physical damage. That's easy to farm. Get that in Forgotten Gods. Those things drop all the time, really. That you get from Cronley's Gang. Again, that's got bleed and whatever on it. Blade, Trot, Ring of Steel. None of those things that I'm using, but it's just to show you what you can get for this build. That's really good as well. Dual Blades and Shadow Strike. Shadow Strike is one of the main skills. What you'll notice with this build, let's just quickly nip up somewhere where I can show off what it's doing. I've only got one toggle skill on here at the moment. You could have more. You could have more with gear. I've got Veil of Shadow, and I've got the that's Veil of Shadow. I've got 1 point in that, and I've got that thing maxed out. It's like 131 cold damage. 30% of that is converted to physical. I've got 1 point in a few things. You know, it's breaking my own rules. I mean, I always say max out a single attack skill. You don't really have to on this. I haven't got a single attack. Anything out of that, I've got that maxed out. Bizarrely, that is my key skill. So what you've got here, you've got Blitz and you've got Shadow Strike. So you can whiz in and kick everything. Let's find a big group I can rush into. Shadow Strike's just great. Yeah, see, Fighting Spirit comes up pretty much all the time. It's got a cooldown on it, but it hasn't got the... There you go, that's the cooldown. It hasn't got the... It's got a 2-second cooldown because of the gear, instead of the 8-second cooldown. Yeah, that's off an item. There's Fighting Spirit again. We get a really big group. Show off a bit. So you can keep dipping in and out of the fight, bouncing around with Blitz and Shadow Strike. You lose a bit of health every now and again, but then you'll get it back. See, for area clearing, it's pretty good as well. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Right, so that's the build. Let's jump back in time to when I started playing this, and we'll go through it quickly, step through. I'll show you what, you know, where to put your skill points when you go up, and a lot of this is flexible. It's not like you must do it this way, but this will show you how you can do it, and then it's up to you how you do it. Right, let's go. So we go back in time to when I started this character. I did this on a completely new save slot. So it's like as if you just started the game, just installed it, never played the game before. So I created this character when in there, there's nothing in shared stash because it's, like I said, it's completely fresh save folder. And what I'm going to do is, for the first few levels, just grab whatever item, whatever weapon is knocking around, the first thing you pick up, anything that's better than the current thing that you were using, and start putting points into Soldier. And then what I recommend is put points into Forcewave and then go and grab Hevill's Greatsword, which is just over on the east in a building just outside Devil's Crossing. Run around using Forcewave until, I don't know, clear the Reanimator, get a bunch of points. You've got to wait until you obviously can't dual wield until you get the Nightblade, and I'd say do Soldier first because it's easier to speed level up using Forcewave than using any Nightblade skills. But when you start getting one-handed melee weapons drop, I mean, you can go and get Ullman's Axe, although it's not brilliant because it's not a physical damage weapon. Once you start getting melee weapons drop one-handed, hang on to them, keep them in your inventory. Then as soon as you hit level 10, you can put a point into Nightblade's dual wield skill and start dual wielding, because that's obviously what you want to do. If you want to stick with Forcewave for longer using Hevill's Greatsword, or maybe a better two-handed sword that drops for you, feel free, because what you're going to do eventually is reallocate a bunch of skill points anyway. When you're putting points into Soldier, get Blitz as soon as you can, stick 1 point in there, and then forget about putting points in that for a bit. You maybe put a few more points into that later, but for now 1 point in Blitz is all you need. Those points in Forcewave, and what I would say is put the point into the Tremor node so you can spam Forcewave. This is just for leveling, just for running around. As soon as you get the dual wield ability, you're going to be taking the points out of Forcewave and sticking 1 or 2 points into Cadence, just so you've got that as a default attack replacer. And you don't need a default attack replacer, but it's better to have Cadence in there with a point or 2 in it than not, because it gives you extra damage. And what you'll be relying on is having the default attack, or the default attack replacer, triggering a whole bunch of Nightblade dual wield skills that trigger off default weapon attacks. So right now I've reached level 10, I've selected Nightblade, put a point into dual wield, put 1 point into Veil of Shadow, and I'm ditching whatever the two-handed weapon was that I had. I'm going to go up to the Spirit Guide, and take the points out of Forcewave. There you go. Stick a point in cadence. Not going to bother with that. That's the whole elemental damage thing which you don't want to mess around with. That's where I'm going next. More points into that string of nodes at the top. And here's my collection of one-handed melee weapons. As soon as we get Angrim, we can craft a decent melee weapon. It's pretty cheap to craft, but if you want to ignore that and just go straight to getting Grundleplith's tail a couple of times, that'll work as well. What I decided to do on this was take the Falcon as the first constellation I completed, because it's got a good shotgun physical damage effect on it. Here's something I absolutely don't recommend. In the middle of a fight, doing the level up attribute and skill point assignment. Yeah, I'm amazed I don't die even more frequently in hardcore. There you go, bang, Shadow Strike. So get Shadow Strike as a priority. You've now got Blitz and Shadow Strike, so you can zip about the screen like a human pinball, and that's fantastic. That really makes this build a load of fun to play. The dual wielding's a laugh, but being able to bounce back and forth or go into a group and then run out of the group to a distant enemy on the periphery, it's brilliant. At this point, I've been using 2 of those honed swords. I made them just to try them out. They're the thing, they've got that that Ring of Blades effect, which is quite nice. When you've got 2, that's pretty much going off all the time. You might want to stick with that for quite a while, but as you can see there, I've got one of the Grundleplith tails, and point allocation is going quite well as I'm leveling up. What I'll do is I'll just show you now where you get Grundleplith's tail from, and in my opinion, it's if you get 2 of them, they're gonna serve you well for a long time, and you can keep going back to Grundleplith as you level up and farm him and get higher level items. So you can keep doing that until you hit whatever his level cap is in normal. They're going to work really well for quite a long time. And you can pick them up in Elite if you want an Ultimate. I don't know whether by the time you get into Ultimate it's going to be the best in slot weapon. It probably isn't. But the combination of how they work with Fighting Spirit is really good. This is me fighting him for about the 3rd or 4th time. I was quite lucky with the drops. I mean, you might fight him a couple of times and not get the tail drop, but it is quite a frequent drop from him. So now I think I've got a level 21 knocking around in the inventory, because it's not guaranteed what level it's going to drop, and I've got that one. So what I'm going to do here is make sure I've got the one that deals most damage in the main hand slot, and then dual wield them. So that's given me plus quite a few points to Fighting Spirit, and it is also giving that buff and the 16% attack damage converted to health all the time Fighting Spirit is up. And because it's reducing the cooldown, yeah, look at this. I mean, earlier on, I think right at the start of this, I said it was something like a 2-second cooldown. It's not. It's a 5-second cooldown. It's reduced to 5 seconds on Fighting Spirit. So you've got like a 5-second gap where Fighting Spirit won't be up. And if you're in a big fight, it'll pretty much be up all the time, apart from when it's cooling down. So I'll get into a big fight in here and demonstrate that. That's Fighting Spirit on its 5-second cooldown. So if you watch, as soon as it runs out, it's almost back up straight away. It's that little fist icon. So it's up and it's active, and now it's gone. Now it's on a cooldown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Bang! It's gone, and it's straight back up again. And you can see with the health while it's up, the health is twitching a bit because it's going down, and because I'm hitting things, it's going straight back up. I lost a fair bit there. While it's on the cooldown, it's back up, and there you go, getting health back again. So although you lose health, what you're doing is mostly out healing the incoming damage, which is what you want to be doing. Then you're not thinking, oh no, I need to spam health pots or whatever. I mean, you're not going to see the health just completely stuck at max all the time. but it's constantly going to be working its way back up to that while you're in a fight. I mean, that's the thing with Fighting Spirit and attack damage converted to health. If you're not fighting anything, you won't be getting any health back, but then if you're not fighting anything, you're probably not taking any damage. Just don't stand in any poison pools. Just got to level 19 here. What I've been doing every level up, I've been putting the attribute point into physique. Just going to keep doing that until I reach a point where I might need some spirit for a ring or whatever, and I'm working towards maxing out fighting spirit, because obviously that's a big skill for this build, using those weapons. This is the 7th shrine out of 7 in normal Act 1. Just have a quick look at what my devotions are looking like. I'd already got, because with 6 points you can get to the end of Falcon, so Falcon's done, and I've got that, so that's 6 points. You've got the Crossroads node, which I could reclaim, and I've got the 5 in Falcon. Just having a quick look around here now. What I decide to do ultimately is temporarily put the points into Bat, because you've got a bit more attack damage converted to health coming out of that. Before you heavily focus on buffing a specific damage type early on in the game, you know, you can pretty much have all sorts of different damages going on, and you'll be getting a decent benefit from them. This level 20, I managed to get Fighting Spirit maxed out. I'm now putting a couple of points into that node there. So Veil of Shadows up, it's doing some local area damage. It's cold damage, but I'm gonna get, like I said, I'm gonna get some gear that will convert elemental damage to physical damage fairly soon, after killing Warden Krieg and nipping into the Forgotten Gods area. This is in Act 2, just getting up to level 21 on this skeleton fight. As always, pointing to physique, and I'm going to max out on the Nightblade. I'm just having a quick look at stuff there that's, you know, already maxed out, show where the points are allocated. Just going to max out this node here, Night's Chill, get that area damage sorted out, so things are taking damage even when I'm not hitting them. If you have a look at this fight here, have a look at the health, and you have a look at what's going on, have a look at how quickly things are getting taken out. Falcon thing proccing quite frequently off cadence. Hitting level 25 in Chronicler Slayer, wasn't recording, so I had to quickly switch the recording on to catch this level up. Point physique. What I'm doing here is I'm stopping focusing on Soldier. I'm going to try and max out Nightblade. There's a bunch of stuff I want to get here. There's some things there you can put points into if you want. That one there is worth getting purely for the percentage increase to cunning. There's a few other things in there that are handy, but that cunning percentage increase is really good. Murderer's Cowl on the ground there. There's 3 things that the Cronley Murderers drop. There's a cowl, there's a shoulder armour, and there's a chest armour. The shoulder and chest armour are probably better for this build than that. I mean, that buffs a bunch of stuff on Nightblade, but they're not skills that I'm using. I'm just wearing it because it looks good, and that's it's not advice. I had better stuff in inventory for this build. It's giving me slightly more damage, but yeah, I just thought let's wear the Murderer's kit because it suits what I'm doing, even if it doesn't actually suit the build. Just had the shoulder armour and the chest armour drop, just a little bit north of where I am. I've already got some of the shoulder armour in inventory. The chest armour is great for this build because it's got Shadow Strike and dual blades getting buffed on it, and that acid damage converted to piercing means that some of the acid damage that some of the Nightblade skills are doing are getting converted to piercing damage. I didn't want to swap this around at the moment because I got really lucky with the current thing that I'm wearing, because it's got plus 25 cunning on it, which buffs all the physical piercing and bleed damage. So later on, I'm going to ditch it and stick one of those murderers ones on, just so I've got the full set. Even though it's not a set, it's you know, it's good if you're role playing an actual murderer, which I like to be. I mean, look at these guys go down. They're definitely getting murdered. It's a Krieg fight in normal. Arguably I'm over leveled for it, but that's just because I tend to play the way I play in hardcore even when I'm not in hardcore. And what you can see here, so talking about out healing the incoming damage. He's damaging me, but what Fighting Spirit is doing with the 16% attack damage converted to health from those weapons is it's getting the health back. Now what's interesting is what I've done in the second phase is I'm playing as I normally, and I'm keeping an eye on fighting spirit. And there's a certain point where fighting spirit is on cooldown, and what I do is I think, okay, I'll just drop a health potion while it's on cooldown just to fill that gap in, because if you're up against something that's dealing a considerable amount of damage, that 5 seconds could be all they need to finish you off. I don't think he would have then, but I wanted to just demonstrate how you can tactically deploy a health potion in that 5 seconds while fighting spirit's on cooldown. Once you've got Krieg out of the way, you can have a chat to the guy on outside Devil's Crossing, nip across into the Forgotten Gods expansion area. There's some stuff you can farm here, and it's also a little bit of a, you can break up your normal campaign. Grab the 6 lore notes that are lying around, get a level up if you're lucky. At this point I'm still, like I said, working up, leveling up Nightblade. Now this is a good demonstration of how useful the build is at this level, taking these things out. I mean, I've been in here before on other builds and found this quite challenging, but they don't last very long. It's like 3, 2, 1, bang, bye bye Eldritch Horrors. That worked well. We can also do here is have a look around. You can copy and paste text as I'm Control V and physical damage into there. Bismarck stuff's alright. Have a look at the shoulder armour though. Look at that. Markovian's what's it and Balgovian's thing. So yeah, that's good old Blade Master gear. You come into this area near the Temple of Osir Rift. There's a shrine and there's a few other things that I'll show you in a sec. So I leveled up on that as well. Yeah. Still working on maxing out Nightblade. What I'm going to do here is just start putting points into Fox Constellation for the bleed damage. Again, stuff like that I might change it later, but it's alright for now. It's got some cunning on it and some spirit, whatever. There's a body up here. There's always a body up here with some stuff on it, but the most important thing, well, the second most important thing to that shrine, not this stone, although if there's a stone there always search it. These vases over here, there's always a Leovinus Ring in here. On every character there's a Leovinus Ring in normal and elite and ultimate. It's always the same ring. I was having energy issues, but I was waiting until I got Leovinus Ring. So I stick the Leovinus Ring on and then stick an ectoplasm on it, sort out my energy issues. That Leovinus Ring's great. It's not only got the experience buff on it, but it's got quite high elemental resistance, which is well worth having. It's the Korvan Titanovore fight. This is always a good test. See if your build's as good as you think it is. What I'm going to do with this one, I don't bother using the health potion because I just wanted to see whether it would kill me or not. It gets me quite low when fighting spirit's on its cooldown, as you can see. But then, bang, fighting spirit kicks back in. I start getting health back, and he dies before we can figure out whether he's going to fully heal me back to max health again. Here's the Korvan shoulders I was talking about earlier. These are the things that convert elemental damage into physical damage. I'll do a quick summary of everything and I'll put a timestamp in, so if you want to, anybody who wanted to skip past me waffling on and showing it all off, you can just jump to this point. Should be pretty straightforward. Let's go through the basic stuff. I put everything into physique. You can see there's points spent 0 on cunning, points spent 0 on spirit, and points spent 29 on physique. So I'm level 30, so obviously, yeah, you get 1 point every time you level up. So you start at level 1, so you don't get point level 1s from 2 up to 30. So that's all I really need to talk about as far as attributes go. I just banged everything into physique. Now, while leveling up, when I started off, I picked Soldier as the first mastery and went with Forcewave and Hevill's Greatsword. I'll just quickly run, I'll show you, I'll do a quick run to where Hevill's Greatsword is while I talk about this stuff. Just in case anybody doesn't know where it is. So this is your running out of Devil's Crossing. Now, depending on, sometimes you can get actually, sometimes this is blocked, you can't go up here. Right? Come around here. like I said, sometimes these paths are blocked. Right, Hevill's Greatsword's in that building there. So you come out of Devil's Crossing and you can either go up there and round, or up there and across there, or round the way I've come. Eventually you get to this building, you go in here, search that body. There's Hevill's Greatsword. Sometimes it's got a single affix on it, buffing it in some way. And that's that thing. So that's a good thing to start off with. So you run around with that, put points into Forcewave, and that, which needs a two-handed melee weapon, so you can't use a one-handed weapon or a two-handed range. You've got to have a two-handed melee. Hevill's Greatsword is a two-handed melee. So Tremor lets you spam Forcewave. You just keep whacking away. Whereas that, if you don't have it on there, it's got almost a 3-second skill recharge. So that's what you do to start off with. Once you get to enough points for Blitz, pick Blitz. And once you get enough points for Fighting Spirit, start putting points in there. I put a point each in those things, and they've got buffed by gear. But that was late on. You don't straight away put stuff in there, you don't need it. I put a point in there. And so really all you're talking about here is Forcewave until you get to level 10 when you pick your Nightblade, and then switch to Cadence. Stick 1 point in that, 1 point in that. That's pretty much all you need at the start of the game. Like I said, it's different from my normal recommendation, which is max out a single attack skill. This build doesn't work that way. I mean, it could do, but you don't really want to go banging 16 points in axe. There's much better things to do. Get that thing up to 12 out of 12 as soon as you can, even before picking up the Grundleplith weapons, because that's really good. And that's level 17 actually. That's giving me +1 to all soldier skills. I'll take that out for now, so this will make a bit more sense. So yeah, so with the Grundleplith weapons, if I take them out, 12 out of 12, it's got a 40% chance of activating, 12-second skill recharge, 8-second duration. You can't increase the duration. Well, I'm pretty sure you can't increase the duration, but you can remove points out of the So it's still got an 8-second duration, but now it says 6-second skill recharge. Okay. So why that is 6 is because it starts off at 12. They take 3 seconds off each. Now the reason it was 5 was because I had that on there. +1 to all skills in soldier, and that puts that up just high enough so it knocks it down to a 5-second skill recharge. That's just 1 extra point. So you might get some gear that puts +1 or +2 into Fighting Spirit. You might get that Wallmaster's thing, you might get something else. So that's how they work with Fighting Spirit. So on the soldier side, really the only things that are essential, I mean, stick a point in there, stick a point in Blitz, get that up to here. Arguably you could take that just up to 10 and just get Blitz and not worry about putting any more points in. It's really the main thing that you're going to want to do. Level 10, stick a point in there, then start working up through the Nightblade Mastery. I mean, I've stuck a 1-pointer in a couple of these things, you don't have to. It's nice to put 1 point in each of them. I started putting more points in that because it's got a devotion skill attached to it, and I wanted to see that thing triggering. Stick 1 point in Veil of Shadow. I maxed that out. It's good, and the cold damage, once you get those Korvan Spaulders, 36% elemental damage converted to physical, so that's a third of 36% of whatever. So 36% of fire, if it's doing fire damage, cold or lightning, it will convert 36% to physical. So 36% of that cold damage is physical damage. And anything that buffs physical damage, for example, that will buff the damage that thing's doing. So yeah, like I was saying, up to level 10, I suppose, or whatever you need to get Blitz. I mean, when I did this, as soon as I got Blitz, I put a few points in there. I think from level 8 and 9, I didn't spend any points, and then I had more available for Nightblade. So you want to be getting... You can see what I've got here. I've got Blitz on button 1, Shadow Strike on button 2. What you can also get, you can get from the Forgotten Gods vendors. Each one you can get a thing that you can put on there that will give you another mobility skill. So you could have 3. And I might do another video and demonstrate that. So you've got 3 of them. 2's fine. 3's just, well, it's more fun. And yeah, if you notice, I kind of haven't been going crazy with components. Always put loads of components on as soon as you get them. Makes everything better. Gives you a lot more damage. Gives you buffs your resistances. Also, I mean, my poison acid resistance is garbage. Still 0. Let's talk about the Cronley Gang items. So before you get to Forgotten Gods, you can go and farm the Cronley Gang. And you can farm them. Best places to do this, if you go to the old Arkovia Rift and then fight your way up to Cronley's hideout, then go into Cronley's hideout, you're going to get these things drop. Murderer's Breastplate, if you look at that, acid damage converted to piercing. So there's some Nightblade stuff doing acid damage. I mean, as soon as you can get into Forgotten Gods and farm them, grab them, dump that thing. That thing though is awesome. Dual blades and Shadow Strike. So dual blades is that's why that 1-pointer is a 3-pointer, and that's why that's got 6 points in its got things buffing Shadow Strike. That's just any old random trousers, any old random belt, +2 to Blitz, brilliant. Forcewave that I'm not using, doesn't matter, just random. That +8% all damage isn't too bad. Like I said, all this is just random stuff at drop. Then you can farm that and you can farm this. That buffs a bunch of Nightblade skills that I don't use, but you know, I've got it on anyway. Find something better than that at some point. Grundleplith's tail, we talked about that. It's the way to get there. I did show this, but you know, you go to Burrich Village, and from Burrich Village Rift, you just head west as far as you can get. You can get around. Sometimes you can get around this way. Sometimes you have to go the other way. Random paths are blocked. This time I've been able to get around it. Sort of. No, that's blocked. Okay. Don't listen to me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll get through here and get out the other side. I'll get the map up in a minute. So, oh look, oh, attempt to take that out. Get rid of these dogs. Yeah, abandoned waterfronts. This is where you come up to do the fabric quest. Just smash the wall here. So here's the map. That's where the Burrich Village Rift is. So depending on what random path is blocked, you've got to get yourself up to here. So it's only really one way, but I had to go round because the path was blocked. You end up here. You come through here and there's this. It's not like Pusquill's cave. This one's always in the same place. Pusquill's cave can be in 3 different places. That's always there. So that's Grundleplith's cave. So you go in here. Chances are he won't drop it this time. There's always loads of these dogs in here.
That skill's not ready.
Generally take out as many of these as you can before entertaining Pusquill. Not Pusquill, Grundleplith, whatever. Sometimes there's a totem in here. There he is, right. Yeah, remember my poison and acid resistance is garbage. And he's the one, yeah, he didn't drop it this time, which is good, because I did say sometimes he doesn't drop it. Just come back and do it again. Doesn't take long. So that's how you get those things. And that's That's really good. You exploit that whole thing with fighting spirit, so it's up and down all the time, where it's up more than it's down, and you're getting 16% attack damage converted to health all the time from that. So that's farmable if you can be bothered. I mean, you can get better things than that. Go and farm that, run around Forgotten Gods early areas till you get one of them drop. Just make sure it's the right one. I mean, don't get something that converts physical to elemental. There's Korvan shoulder things that do that as well. Random drop, Leovinus Ring, you can go and get that straight away. Showed you where to get that earlier in the video. From near the shrine outside Temple of Osir. Get that. If you look at that, 24% elemental resistance is really good. Plus 15% all damage is really good. And then, you know, stick ectoplasm on it if you've got energy issues. What else did I pick on Nightblade? Pneumatic Burst, I got 1 point in that. Pneumatic Burst is a great skill. Heals you and it ups your offensive ability and your total speed. Keep putting points into that. But what I'd probably figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of Soldier. Really, apart from Cadence and Blitz and that thing, a lot of the survivability will come from Soldier. You can't use Menhir's Will because you've not got a two-handed weapon or a melee weapon. So don't go putting points in that because they're wasted, because they won't activate because you're not using the right gear. It won't stop you putting points in there. It just won't ever activate. So don't put points in that. Same with Overguard, requires a shield. That requires a shield. Feel free to stick points in there, up your physique and your health. And that's a good one. That's a good one. Scars of Battle's a good one. That's decent. That's decent. So there's a whole load of stuff you can put things in. Now the Nightblade doesn't have an exclusive skill. That's just the last node of that. That's just Blade Spirit, and that's just the last node of that. It's one of the few masteries that doesn't have an exclusive skill, so you can decide what you want to do here. Well, not that, obviously. Requires a shield or a two-handed melee weapon. So that is the only exclusive skill you can pick up, and that buffs the heck out of physical, pierce, internal trauma damage. So yeah, get that. There's no, you don't even have to think about it. If you're going to max Soldier out, get that. You might not even max Soldier out. You might spend loads of points in here and find out you're only taking Soldier up to 32 so you can get squad tactics and then leave it. See how it goes. I'd say this isn't a complete, this is how to make a Blade Master build. This is how to get a really good start in Blade Master and get an understanding for how stuff works and how your gear and your skills work together to keep you alive, instead of just picking up things like, oh yeah, I got this really good blue weapon drop, which might have a little bit higher DPS, but you're not going to get the same synergies between the weapons and the skills if you just use random stuff. Again, if you want to just use random stuff, go ahead. If you know what you're doing, I mean, I'm saying someone who comes in with this as a brand new game, never played it before, you can go and get these items because they're target farmable. You can pick the same skills because, nothing's stopping you picking the same skills. You can do exactly the same thing. Get yourself up to level 30. Get familiar with what you've done. I mean, devotions, you could pick totally different ones. That's actually very good. That, not so much. I'll probably take the points out of there. I'll probably complete that and then take the points out of there and go do something else. You could stick physical damage in here as a search. And then go and have a look around the outside and think, well, I mean, be careful with things like that. It's this physical and fire. You pretty much want something that's doing physical damage. This is quite a good one down here. Physical and bleed. That requires a mace. Now, if you have a look at, that thing, that whole thing there that does physical damage and whatever, requires a mace. If you have a look at Grundleplith's tail, what rare one-handed mace, it tells you what it is, so you could use that. So that's pretty much it. Like I say, try to keep this short, and if there's anything that I missed out, because there probably is, shout out in the comments. How the hell did you do this? Where did you get that from? Where did you put this point, that point? I mean, it should be pretty obvious. I'll put a Grim Tools link. I'll put a whole bunch of stuff in the description so you can have a look at some of these items on Grim Tools and whatever. But that'll do for now. Thank you for watching that one. I hope that was interesting. I hope somebody got something out of that one, and I will catch you all in the next video.